So we are boarding off this edition of the SportsMax Zone with cricket as the West Indies kept their World Cup hopes alive by defeating Bangladesh by 3 wickets at the Lahore City Association ground in Pakistan, the ICC qualifying tournament earlier on Wednesday. Despite an early breakthrough from Shinel Henry, who removed opener Sabana Mostari for 6, a 118-run second wicket stand between top scorer Sharmin Akhtar, 67, and Fargana Haq with 42 threatened to take the game away from the Caribbean side, who were sent to field. Now, it took the introduction of player of the match, Alia Aline, to break the partnership on her way to a career-best 4 for 39, as the West Indies restricted the Bangladeshis to a potentially competitive 227 for 9 from their 50 overs. The Maroon Warriors began their run chase with a reshuffled batting order, which saw the left-handed St. Lucian duo of Kiana Joseph and the 20-year-old Zayda James opening the innings. However, it was the seasoned campaigners, former skipper Stefani Taylor, 36, and captain Hayley Matthews, 33, who steadied the ship with a 66-run fourth wicket stand when they found themselves at 74 for 3 in the 17th over, before a 50-run partnership between Shinel Henry, 51, not out, and Shabika Gajnabi, 20, sealed the win for the Caribbean side at 228 for 7 in 46 overs. The West Indies captain Hayley Matthews gave her thoughts on the victory as well as their crucial upcoming final fixture.
The wicket did have a bit in it, so we were still happy to have a ball first. And yeah, it was pretty tough in the first 15 overs, or the first 25 overs, but then Alia Aline came in with a match-winning spell. Obviously getting player of the match for the spell that she produced, but yeah, really pulling the game back into our favor to restrict them to 230. And then, yeah, with the bat, probably got off to a pretty good start with Kiana and Zayda at the top. And I felt like we were able to control the game pretty much throughout the innings to be able to chase it down in 46. Yeah, I think just rest up and recover tomorrow, get ourselves back in a good mental space, obviously taking a lot of confidence from this game, but understanding the importance of the last match as well. I think we want to go out there and win it, but net run rate is definitely going to come into play if we want to have a chance at qualifying. So hopefully we can go out and win it convincingly as well.
Yeah, so Hayley Matthews there, the successful West Indies captain today. International cricket commentator Nikhil Uttam Chandani joining us now on Zoom to review the result and to give his thoughts on the West Indies' chances of qualifying for the World Cup from the current position they are now in. Nikhil, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. We have discussed in the past week how badly the team had played in the tournament so far, but they came up with a good result today and did enough to keep themselves with a chance, slim though it may be, of going to the World Cup. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Lance, it's quite sad actually, and I remember saying this after the first game against Scotland. It's quite evident that the West Indies clearly have an intensity issue when it comes to starting series or starting major tournaments. I look at the team that was put out last night, the intensity on the field, the way they went about things, and I compare it to that first game. I mean, it was a stark contrast, and it really is a pity now because you look at the table the way it's set up, with the West Indies net run rate and Scotland being above them, and then having to hope that a Pakistan team who is unbeaten in the tournament and may rest players goes on to beat Bangladesh. Their hopes and chances of qualifying for that tournament are quite slim. And you just would have thought, had they been a bit better early on in the tournament, you know, we don't know what could have happened.
Yeah, and you know what? I was mentioning yesterday when we were talking to Reds about the match, looking ahead to this Bangladesh match, that I found it curious that the West Indies were going into this Bangladesh match based on form, unsure whether they had the ability to win this match, because just earlier on this year, the West Indies played Bangladesh in a 3-match series in St. Kitts. 1-2-1. Yes, they did lose a match, but the 2 matches they won by 8 wickets with about 135 balls to spare, and the other one by 9 wickets with about 110 balls to spare. It was like a mismatch. So in my estimation, the West Indies are a far better team than Bangladesh, and it makes it really worrying and disappointing that the West Indies have had to struggle so much in this tournament. I was on record as saying that this would have been a cakewalk for the West Indies to qualify for the World Cup. Obviously, I'm wrong. But can you put your finger, apart from anything else that we have said, on why the West Indies would have played so badly before and what happened today to show that this is more similar to what you expect from them?
Just on your earlier point, I remember we had this discussion and watching that series against Bangladesh, right? Those games were in St. Kitts. I had a sneaky feeling that the cricket being played in Pakistan, in the subcontinent, would bring the Pakistanis and the Bangladesh into this tournament a bit more. Why? Slightly bigger boundaries. There are more touch players working the ball into gaps. Now rotation of strike becomes a lot more important than just boundary hitting like the West Indies were able to do at Warner Park. So given that, paired with this nature of the surfaces, which have surprised me seeing how much grass has been on them, I thought, they would always have a better chance. That being said, like you, I also expected the West Indies to be comfortable. I think it's a plethora of things, Lance. First of all, the expectation on the West Indies, there would have been a hint of pressure associated with them coming into this tournament, especially after going down in the first game against Scotland. I could only imagine it's a young group. I think before the tournament we said 6 of the 15 players are 25 or younger. So I don't want to make an excuse for them because we are expecting them to do a lot better than they have done. But I do think this would have been a new experience for a lot of these players. You look at some of the roles that they're playing. It's a very new situation and position for the West Indies. However, that being said, I said it at the beginning, the intensity in which I saw the cricket being played with in the first 2 games especially, Pakistan was very disappointing. But the Scotland-Ireland games for me were incredibly disappointing when I looked at the batting effort. Lack of rotation of strike, nobody really taking any sort of responsibility other than Hayley Matthews. And when I compare it to last night and the way that they batted against Bangladesh, I mean, this for me is, I don't want to say the ceiling because I still think there's room for vast improvement. But I think this is the first complete performance I've seen from a West Indian batting lineup in a long time, probably since Shane Dietz has taken over. I look at 7 of the 9 batters getting to double figures. I look at, even at 140 for 4, the way they responded with Chanel Henry, who gave herself a chance. This is what we've been begging for. She was 10 off 21 balls, ended up finishing on 51 off 48. She made sure that she would be there till the end, finished not out, and then she was assisted by the application of Gajnabi and Alia Aline and others. So for me, everyone chipped in, contributed in their own way. And I want to credit Shane Dietz finally for his proactivity. It's a bold move to take someone who's scored a number of hundreds at the top of the order and insert her in at number 5. He also took Chanel Henry and gave her a few overs in the middle. I can see visible signs of him trying to make a difference and trying to change things. And I think he must be credited for his ability under pressure to try different things and experiment.
Nicola, a couple of questions. You touched on one of them a while ago. You talk about the move to move Hayley Matthews down into the middle order. Is that something that is a possible solution going forward to add stability to our middle order that's largely been fragile in matches, regardless of who we play? Putting Matthews in the middle order, does that help in terms of stability, one? And is it potentially a longer-term move?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this all day because I figured this question would come. To be honest, I don't love it because I like the best players, especially given Hayley Matthews' track record in the top 3. I want to see her opening the batting. However, I would say in certain situations, this can be a possible solution or this can be a possible experiment that the West Indies take. The reason I'm saying that is, one, you had Kiana Joseph coming back into the team. She's obviously she probably needs the power play a lot more than Hayley Matthews or any other West Indian batter, given her power game. Zeta James has impressed the way she's navigated the new ball. So you want both of those players in the power play. And then the fact that the West Indies knew exactly what they were chasing, that to me also aided having that bit of experience to take some pressure off of that top 4. What I wanted to see, though, was how would they respond to adversity. This was a big thing for me in this game. When she was dismissed at 140 for 4, it could have easily gone the other way and there could have been a collapse. But this is where Chanel Henry deserves a lot of credit. Mm-hmm. The way she batted in that initial period when Matthews got out, I thought it was really impressive. And I'm hoping that others can take a lot of positives from this, whether they go through or not. The way Gajnabi survived and was able to rotate strike, there's confidence and signs that the potential is there. Mm-hmm. How can we get this more consistently?
All right. My second question that comes to the middle order is simply this. I'm going to read some numbers for you. 24, 14, 6, 9, 11, 11, 3, 25, and 28. That's Shemaine Campbell's last 9 innings for the West Indies. As one of the most experienced players on that team, Nikhil, is it time that they ask more from her because she's not been delivering with the bat, and it puts pressure on the middle order because coming in at 3, if she goes quickly, then the middle order is immediately exposed. That the older ball doesn't have, but the newer ball still has that kind of impact in terms of possible movement, in terms of pace of the pitch, that she's supposed to help to negate, but she's not been delivering. How do the West Indies fix that situation, or how does she step up?
It's a tough one because she's obviously had a decent T20 year. Last year, helping at the World Cup. And the West Indies see her as someone, probably their best player of spin in the middle overs, other than Hayley Matthews, of course, who can sweep the ball quite convincingly, rotate, strike, and be sort of that gritty, grindy type player in the middle for the West Indies. But I agree with you, and I think it's not only Shemaine Campbell. Each one in that West Indies team need to understand they have to be giving more. And this is why I quite like having a Janita Glasgow knocking on the door. I like a Rashada Williams knocking on the door. Let's create enough competition for places where players now have to understand that they need to perform, otherwise they can easily be dropped. No one can be safe in this team if you're not producing a high volume of runs. So, yeah, everyone needs to give more, but Shemaine Campbell, given her experience, definitely. And if not, the West Indies have to look at some other solutions in the 50-over format.
All right, Nikhil, as we look ahead to the remainder of the tournament and the mathematical chance that the West Indies still has to qualify for the World Cup later this year, the position is that it's not entirely in their hands. We expect them to beat Thailand, and they need to beat them in a big way to improve their net run rate. The permutations for the West Indies, just outline that for our viewers.
Yeah, so Pakistan have to beat Bangladesh, and then the West Indies need to hope that it's by a sizable enough margin because Bangladesh's net run rate, as you can see, is quite high. If the West Indies win, we're assuming that they will win and go to 6 points, they've got to do so much to get above from minus 0.283 to 1.033. It's not going to be easy. Then you have to consider Scotland, who are playing Ireland, just the 1 win. If they win as well, the net run rate is much higher than the West Indies. So, look, I think they probably have the least likely chance out of the 3 teams. The only thing they have going for them is that Thailand obviously have not been to the quality of the other 5 teams, and maybe they can trounce them and hope for a few nail-biters here and there. My worry is that Pakistan have qualified, don't have anything else to play for other than maybe topping the table, which they probably still will do anyway. I mean, they could easily just say, let's rest a few players and give some others an opportunity on this world stage. So, yeah, I'm fearing for the worst, unfortunately.
Yeah, Thailand scored pretty heavily in one of their games, 259 against Ireland, which does suggest that they may not be as much of a minnow's side as many people are suggesting.
Yeah, I've seen some spin that they have as well. There's definitely sparks there. If the West Indies take this easily or be complacent like we've seen them in the past, it could easily go. I don't want to say they'll lose, but cricket is a funny game, man. Honestly, this tournament really has been an eye-opener for me. I think for the West Indies, it's simple, Lance and Leighton. Just win, try to win as much as possible, as big as possible, and hope for the best. It's out of their hands now, and this is because of, again, a lack of starting the tournament with that great intensity. They've got to pretty much set up for the consequences, but I'm hoping that a big win and a few miracles, and we can see them in the main event.
Yeah, and Leighton asked you a couple of minutes ago whether Hayley Matthews batting in the middle order is something that they would pursue in the future. I suspect that will not be the case when they play Thailand, especially depending on how the toss goes, because they need to win by a big margin and boost their net run rate.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is where Kiana Joseph is very important. Her power game, the West Indies trying to get quick runs as fast as possible to make sure they can put a sizable total on the board if they bat first and bowl Thailand. Now, one thing I want to say, Lance, before we go, I know we're wrapping up. I want to give a massive shout out to Aliyah Aline. The 4 wickets, the awareness that she had in this game, where on a pitch that was giving her that seam movement, sideways movement, the way she bowled to get Sultana, the captain, who scored 102 50s, Apta, who was on 67, I think it was, at the time. I really want to give her kudos because she's been going for runs, but her role in this team is to get wickets, and she deserves a ton of credit.
Yeah, and just a little bit more on her, because I think that of the entire squad and the entire West Indies women's roster at the moment, when the optics suggest to me that she's a natural cricketer. She's I think she has put on a little bit of weight in the past year, but she is a natural cricketer. You can see how she moves. Her fluency, you know, as a bowler does suggest that she has natural cricketing ability. And I agree with you. I'm happy with what she was able to offer in the game today, because it was critical. You know, she was player of the match, and you know, I know the batting held up reasonably well, but her bowling was clearly a critical part of the team's success.
Yeah, I think natural athlete. You look at her caught on bowl to get the opener out. That was fantastic. One thing I look at her, and obviously she's got the different variations that she's been bowling, but today to see her just hold her length on a pitch that was giving her that assistance, hit the top of the stumps a couple of times, it was magical to see. And I think hopefully for her, you know, it's bowling outside of the back end and sort of being a bit more consistent and disciplined. For Chanel Henry, it's finding that same discipline from the power play to bowl the older ball. The West Indies have potential. We have sparks. How do we put all of these individual puzzle pieces together to make one complete performance like we got with the batters today? That's going to be the critical thing going forward for Shane Deeks and his team.
A quick question, Nikhil. One of the things I noticed when the West Indies women are batting, a lot of the times they are forcing shots, low percentage, well, high risk, low percentage shots that usually get them out. Is it that the T20 format is overriding the instinct to be patient, because it's 300 balls as opposed to 120? Is that a possible issue with how they approach batting in the 50-over game?
Yeah, I can't use that as an excuse, because I'm looking at teams like Pakistan, India, in world cricket, who are able to make the adjustment in tempo. What I think it comes down to is the inability to rotate strike, which then puts you under pressure, because you feel like I faced 4 or 5 dots in a row and I need to find a boundary now to release pressure. I think if the West Indies, and they were a lot better with 147 dots in this game, if they can find better ways to rotate strike, get the score moving a bit more and take pressure off your partner, I think in that releases some of the expectation to have to hit boundaries. That for me is a big focus that needs to happen. And I think it's the big reason as to why we're seeing the quote-unquote big shots or release shots being played, which sometimes you wonder why, given the time of the game and the situation. A lot of times the West Indies are comfortable in a chase or batting first in a partnership, and then they play a big release shot. And you sort of have to be aware of moments. And I think it comes down to the inability to rotate strike fluently and consistently.
Okay, good.
Okay, Nikhil, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for joining us for this discussion. And we hope that the remainder of the tournament goes well for the West Indies mathematically, because that's where we are at the moment.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend, guys.
Okay, thanks. And happy Easter to everyone. Yeah, so the important matches coming up: Ireland against Scotland, that's Friday night. And we have Pakistan against Bangladesh. That will be Friday as well. And then early Saturday morning, the West Indies against Thailand. So those are the 3 matches that will decide which of the 2 teams will go to the World Cup later this year. We go to break. We still have a lot more to come on the SportsMax Zone. Back in a moment.